So they announced that Saudi Arabia has actually invested $100 million stake in the PFL, and this is like actually really massive, not only for the PFL but MMA in general. Because I don't know if people know about people know how rich the Saudis are, like the royal family and everything in Saudi Arabia is, notorious for being fucking loaded. But there's actually even bigger, because this is going to make the PFL actually maybe be competitive with the UFC. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go and overtake the UFC instantly, but with the Saudi Arabian fund and everything being involved in this, the Saudis just invest and invest and put all their money into stuff. Like, I think the PFL is going to have some massive, massive events now with this. Like, this is actually huge for them. And for the people who see my PFL recap, I talked about how it was massive for them having them two Saudi Arabian guys win, and it was a good market to invest in. And then literally a week later now, the Saudi Arabians have actually, the fund has actually invested $100 million in the PFL, and they will invest more money. If you've seen what the Saudi Arabian government's done with like the WWE, like they do events over there, and they've done all these like huge events, and they've put all this money in, and they've brought like wrestlers back who were retired for years and all this stuff. They have the money to do all this crazy shit, and they've said that the super fights, when the PFL do them big super fights with like Francis Ngannou, Jake Paul, Clarissa Shields probably versus Savannah Marshall, if they do that fight, they'll probably all be in Saudi Arabia, and they're all massive fights and big stars. Like, honestly, this is actually potentially really game changing for the sport of MMA, and this is actually like this could actually make the PFL competitive with the UFC. Because at first I thought they were like, I'm not even gonna lie here. I thought the PFL was embezzling money or something, because I didn't know how they were affording all these signings. But now that they have the Saudi Arabians on their side, like they have the Saudi Arabian fund on their side, they're going to be able to fucking do even bigger signings. Don't be surprised if they get some big time like UFC fighters to like leave the UFC or something. There's going to be a lot of big signings they're going to get soon. Because like, you can't underestimate the power of having the Saudi Arabian government on your side. Because they will just put money. They'll just put all their money. They just put all their chips in. Like, they go hard with this sort of stuff. They also announced that they're opening a Middle Eastern regional promotion for the PFL, like they have with PFL Europe and PFL Africa that Ngannou is running, which is also going to be huge. Like, the PFL are playing they're doing everything right to be competitive with the UFC. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight. They're not going to just be competitive with the UFC like overnight. But if all these big moves succeed, PFL Europe succeeds, PFL Africa, they said they want 6 international leagues. So I'd imagine they'll do a PFL maybe East Asia, maybe a PFL South Asia, maybe a PFL Oceania, like Australia, New Zealand, Samoa, all my region of the world, and then fucking maybe PFL South America as well. Like, if they play all their cards right, it's gonna be massive for them. They're actually gonna be competitive with the UFC eventually, especially if they build up all the talent correctly. Like, honestly, this is good for MMA in general, because now if the UFC is competitive with them, the UFC are going to have to try harder with their events. They're not going to be able to put on all these shit events. They're going to have to try their hardest to make every event stacked if they've got competition. So I like this. I think it's good for the sport. And honestly, we're going to see some crazy shit come out of the PFL soon, because the Saudi Arabians aren't going to quit. They're going to put all their money into some crazy fucking shit. Like, trust me, man. These Saudi Arabians, like these sheiks and princes and kings and everything, they don't play around. Like, they're gonna put all their money in. Like, I know they've only got $100 million investment, a minority share, But trust me, they're going to put millions of more dollars in for their events and everything. They're going to make all their events massive. Now, maybe this will fall back on them and they'll fail, but I'm hoping they succeed because it'd be good to get some competition in the mixed martial arts world. Hopefully, one starts making a profit because I've seen one's apparently lost so much money over the years. So hopefully, one starts to turn a profit too. And hopefully, we just get like a massive growth of MMA and we get like thousands of more fighters than we already have now. Hopefully, all regions of the world start building so much talent, and then yeah, the sport of mixed martial arts would just be even bigger. Like I'd love for mixed martial arts to eventually become the biggest sport in the world, but that's going to be hard to overtake football/soccer. But a man can dream because I love MMA so much, and you know when all these promotions succeed, we get more fighters, we get more fights, and we get more MMA, which I love because, like I say, I love this sport so much. But yeah, it's good to see Saudis getting involved in the PFL. I think this is massive. Like people are underestimating how massive this is. Like the PFL in a few years could actually be like a big time competitor to the UFC, just with all their investors and everything. And if they can figure out a way to make all these events as massive as possible, like they've got the talent for it. If they can just fix their timing and everything, like I hate watching a PFL event because you just sit there for like fucking 45 minutes after every fight, waiting for the next fight. If the PFL can fix those problems, then they're going to be massive, man. Like, trust me. But this isn't going to be overnight. Just because they got the Saudis on their side doesn't mean that overnight they're just going to be the number one promotion. This is obviously going to take some time, but big investment here. Saudi Arabians, man, they're a game changer in this. Like, I knew I knew eventually the Saudi Arabians were going to get involved in MMA, but I'm glad it's like I don't know as bad as it sounds. I'm glad it's with a rival promotion because it'll make another promotion bigger. And when that happens, it'll grow the sport even more than if it was just the UFC getting all these big time deals. So I'm excited to see what the Saudi Arabians can make happen because these Saudi Arabian PFL events are going to be massive. Trust me. But yeah, thanks for watching. Just thought I'd break this down because yeah, like I say, I've said this about 3 times already, but this is like a game changer for the PFL. Like these Saudi Arabians, they just got boatloads of cash and they don't care about losing money. They're just gonna, because they got that whole Saudi Arabian 2030 vision thing where they want to make Saudi Arabia like fucking like a economic and cultural hub sort of thing. I think that's the plan. So yeah, that this is massive. So I like to see that. Obviously, there's some controversy though, but I won't get into that with the whole. You know, I'm not a political channel, so I won't get into the whole morality of working with the Saudi Arabian government. But still, massive for the PFL, massive for MMA in general, and hopefully this makes the UFC put on bigger events because you know the PFL eventually could be a big time rival promotion. So yeah, I love to see this. So yeah, like I say, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.